How to not become complacent or bored as a basketball player. I'm Tony. Welcome back to Streetball Strategies.
Vision like I'm Jordan, heart heavy with fire. Crossed up doubts, left them flat, no tire. Motivation whispers, gotta lean into here. Why you started, homie, make the goal clear.
Today we're talking about not becoming complacent or bored out here as a basketball player. A lot of the times I address beginner problems out here on the court as a basketball player, but this is much more of a intermediate level problem. Beginner players don't usually get bored because beginner players are constantly making progress. That progress makes basketball fun. One of the major ways to understand that you've reached being an intermediate level player is that progress slows down a whole lot, like all at once. And once that progress slows down, the fun goes away as well. So not only are you not making progress, but you're also not having as much fun as you used to be as a beginner. That can lead to becoming complacent and bored as a basketball player who's trying to get better. So let's talk about how you can avoid that and fight that off as much as possible. Subjects like these are one of my favorite aspects of talking about subjects on this channel, and that is the broad subject of psychology. The reason that's my favorite thing to talk about on this channel is because for me, as a player, I consider myself to have below average basketball talent and below average athletic talent out here, even compared to just the outdoor recreational players. So not only did I have to outwork those players just to catch up to them, but in order to try to close that gap even more and closer and then create my own gap between myself and them was by thinking about exploring aspects of the game that they were not considering. Most players, when they're trying to become a better basketball player, they start and end with drills and workouts because that's the most practical way, the fastest, most efficient to become a better playing basketball player. But just because that's the standard way doesn't mean that's the only way to get better at basketball. If all you ever do is the same drills and workouts that everybody else does, then chances are you're probably only going to ever be just another player out here who just did drills and workouts to establish the same skill set as everyone else out here. But especially when we're talking about outdoor recreational basketball where anybody can come out here, anybody can play, it's open to everyone, that means you should develop your own playing style and personality. That's the great thing about playing out here instead of like playing AAU basketball, because in AAU, you are taught to be an AAU robot. Just do everything the same as all the other AAU players do. Out here, you have a chance to shine, to develop your own playing style and personality. And to me, the best way to do that is by teaching yourself things out here that other players don't do. And I found that most players don't care about, don't think about, overlook the psychology of basketball. That's a huge reason why when players get to that intermediate level, many of them give up. They settle for being intermediate because it's too hard, it's too difficult to keep going on that grind and making that small, tiny little progress as opposed to what they used to make as a beginner. It takes too much time, too much effort to get to that advanced level, so instead they just settle for being an intermediate player. But if they were to take into account the psychology of basketball as well, that could greatly assist them in trying to get to that advanced level. But most players don't even ever think of the psychology of basketball. So when you find yourself getting bored, getting complacent out here, feeling like you're not making any more progress, or the little progress you are making is not happening big enough or fast enough, the best advice I could give you to deal with that is to understand your whys out here. Understand why you're out here. Understand why you're doing it, why it means so much to you, why you got started in the first place. And try not to be superficial. So meaning, don't ask yourself why you're doing it and give yourself a meaningless, superficial answer that doesn't really mean anything to you, because if that's the reason that you resort to try to break your boredom or your complacency, it's probably not going to help. For example, if you say, I started playing basketball, I'm out here because I want to be in the NBA one day, well, that's a perfectly fine reason, but you have to keep digging deeper. So you have to keep asking yourself why and why and why until you actually get to the root of why you're actually doing this. So, okay, you are trying to make the NBA. Why are you doing that? Why does that mean so much to you? You answer that. And then if you're at the root, then you've reached the root. If not, then keep going until you know and understand why you have the reasons for being out here that you have, why they exist and why they mean so much. Until then, you're not going to have your biggest, strongest weapon against being bored and complacent out here. Because part of asking yourself why is understanding, does this actually mean as much to you as you think it does? The more it means to you, the more effort you're going to be willing to put out here, despite how boring or frustrating it might get out here. And if you really truly do want to be out here and your whys for doing it really do actually matter to you, as long as you keep those whys, those reasons in mind, when that complacency hits, when that boredom hits, you will be able to deal with that complacency, with that boredom, much better than just regular average players out here who, when that boredom hits, they just give up and leave. Understanding those psychological reasons why you're out here can very much help you to be consistent out here. Consistency is so uber important when it comes to your progress as a basketball player, how fast, how efficiently you make that progress, because the more consistent you are, the faster it's going to come. But if that consistency is interrupted by complacency and boredom, and then you become more and more sporadic when it comes to the work you're putting in out here, the slower that progress is going to be. And when you're in that intermediate zone where the progress is so slow, it's so small, consistency becomes that much more important. You need to be able to grind through that boredom, through that complacency, through that frustration. You need to be out here, show up regardless of how frustrated, boring, complacent it feels at certain times. And you need to have those rock solid reasons for why. Why are you doing it? Why are you coming out here? You woke up this morning, you don't feel like it, you're tired, you have a headache, you don't feel well, whatever the reason is that you're going to make an excuse not to get out here for the day when you're scheduled to be out here. The more rock solid your reasons are for why you're actually doing it, why you're going to come out here, show up anyway, even though you don't feel well, even though you don't feel like coming out today, even though you just don't feel like you have it that morning. Despite that, you're still going to come out here anyway because you have those rock solid reasons why it means so much to you to do it and to continue to be consistent when other players just fall off. So understanding your whys is the biggest, best tip I could give you in terms of how you can avoid that complacency. Sticking with our psychological theme, just like understanding your whys is important out here, your reasons for actually trying so hard to become the best basketball player you can be, when we're talking about avoiding complacency, avoiding boredom, or working through it anyway, it's very important to include understanding yourself and your personality, your game, and most of all, what motivates you, what inspires you. So sure, you have your reasons why it means so much, but there are going to be times where you're going to want to lean on external motivation or external inspiration to help inspire you to get out here, especially on the days when you don't really feel like it. For different players, that's going to mean different things because of our different personalities. So if you don't know what that is yet for you, if you haven't discovered what it is, then you kind of are lucky that you are in this zone, this step of the process where you get to discover what inspires you, what motivates you. And if you don't really know what I'm talking about in terms of like motivation or inspiration, what I mean is when you experience something off the court that makes you want to get on the court and start putting work in. You experience something off the court where it inspires you. You're like, experiencing this thing off the court makes me want to get on the court and start playing ball and start putting work in so I can get better. And it can be anything. It doesn't even have to be basketball related. I'll give you an example from me that hopefully you can see where I'm coming from. For me, one of the most valuable traits a person can have is that they care about something. Because if they care about something, they actually try to be involved with that thing. People that care actually try. People that don't care just don't try. So people can say, oh yeah, I want to be a great three-point shooter because they admire all of the attention and the glory that Steph Curry gets and the players like him get, how much attention those players like him get. And so they say, oh, they get all that attention. I am envious or jealous of all that attention. I want that attention too. So I will say, I want to be a great three-point shooter. The question is, do they actually care? Because if they actually care, then they will actually try. They will actually put in the time and effort to get better at becoming a three-point shooter. But if they don't care about actually becoming a better three-point shooter or one of the greats, then they'll just talk and they'll say it because it sounds good, but they won't actually put the time and effort in because they don't actually care. To me, when I see someone trying at whatever, it's inspiring to me because someone who's trying is indicating that they care. So my advice is find whatever that is for you, whatever gives you those goosebumps, whatever gets you pumped up to put in work when you don't feel like it, when you're just sort of sitting around and doing whatever it is, and it makes you feel like, man, I wish I was working out, or man, I wish I was on the basketball court right now. Whatever sort of gets you into that mood and that mindset, pay attention to that, and then learn and understand how to use it to motivate yourself when you don't feel like putting in the work. And always be on the lookout for those kinds of motivations all throughout your life, because the more sources you have of it, the more you have to draw on. So the more sort of different sources of motivation you can get and find and use, instead of relying on the same one or two over and over again, the better. But it's all about you knowing you and your personality and your game and what gets your blood pumping. Knowing and understanding the psychology of your whys and your motivations, and having a strategy as to how and when you're going to use them to battle complacency and battle boredom out here is a strategy, a plan that most players never develop out here. It never occurs to them to do so. They don't care enough to do that. But when you're chasing consistency and you need it, you need to be as consistent as possible. You need to have plans, backup plans, strategies as how you're going to maintain consistency over the long haul, which means you need to know and understand your whys and your motivations that are your greatest weapons to battling that complacency and that boredom when other players never have that strategy in the first place. So I want to thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, if you found it helpful at all, if you found it interesting, or you think I made some interesting points that might happen to help you to become better as a player by not becoming complacent or bored, then please subscribe to the channel. And let us know down in the comments, what are your strategies for avoiding boredom and complacency as a player? But before you comment, make sure you hit that thanks button down below, because not only does hitting that thanks button support the channel directly, but it also highlights any comment that you make, making it stand out from any other comment. So for anyone that does hit that thanks button, no, I genuinely appreciate it. As always, like, share, comment, like I said. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you're notified whenever any video goes live on this channel. And until then, see you guys next week.
Court's my sanctuary, the rhythm's my prayer. Fade away shots, life's weight in the air. Inspiration infinite, it's more than the fame. Legacy's the contract, I'm signing my name.